what are your reflections on the Indian Premier League? Like, what are some memories you have there? Some stories you've seen over that way of the world?
Yeah, good and bad actually. The playing side of things was really cool. Like it is, we don't get to see the best of it back here because of the timelines. It just doesn't work for our broadcast back here. So
Yes.
unfortunately, the cricket itself is just an unbelievable high level. It's extraordinary product. I mean, the team that I first joined was Kolkata Knight Riders, and it was owned by Shah Rukh Khan. Now, if you've ever done any research on who Shah Rukh Khan is, he's probably the most well-known, popular, richest actor in the world. And I had to do my research as well. I'm like, they're going, this guy's like the Brad Pitt of like Bollywood.
Yes.
I'm like, what? No way. There's just Brad Pitt and that's it. Then I did my research, and this guy's huge, mate. And that sort of Hollywood, Bollywood thing came into the IPL, and you never had any clue about it. So there was each team that is owned, it's owned by billionaires. They got extraordinary amounts of money, huge businesses, and this was just like they love cricket. Most Indians love cricket, right? So this was their sort of time to just play a little bit and see what this cricket stuff's all about, spend our cash and get into the circus. I remember it pretty clearly. The coaching side was a challenge, like that's for sure. It's a pretty hard environment. Dealing with multi different cultural people, the challenges of living in India for 12 weeks is hard. But again, it's being involved in the greatest tournament, I think, in the world. It's got a lot of love there. So, good and bad, I suppose. Playing side of thing, Rajasthan Royals was fun. That's where I moved from sort of the top of the order down to the lower order. That was something that Rahul Dravid presented to me, and I basically told him at the time, "You're insane, mate. What are you doing? You've paid good money for me to bat at the top of the order." And he sort of said to me, "Well, Hodge, you're the best player at quick bowling, and in every T20 game, they always bring the best, bowlers back on. And, our local players aren't capable of dealing with it. You'd come up against Dale Steyn and Mitchell Starc, and he had a point to that. So that was a sort of transition as well from being an opening batter to a lower order finisher in T20 cricket.
What was the difference for dealing with people invested in the team? So as a coach, are you having to sit through meetings and take advice from more people to keep the peace?
There was one team. It was the Kings 11 Punjab, who've sort of got 4 different owners, and you'd have to sit on game day for probably 3 hours separately with each individual to talk about how you got the structure of the team, what the plans were, and just give them an update on where things were at. Awfully time consuming. And that was one thing which was frustrating, because you as a coach, you wanted to spend time with your players. Yet there was a huge obligation to satisfy, one, your employer, but, a person who's invested in the franchise. They just want to know that you're going to do well. So that sort of stuff's really time consuming. Getting to know the local Indian players as well, like that takes a lot of time. The overseas players you mix with and you've seen around the circuit and you've got relationships with, but then going in and crossing into their lifestyle and understanding them as humans needs time, and you don't feel you've got that time to fully get to every person across, that period to understand what makes them tick. So it's a hard learning curve. There's probably 45 people within the organisation that you have to build strong friendships and bonds with pretty quickly. And then that's time consuming for sure. So you got to make sure you got a network of good support around you to enable you to do that.
Well, one thing the IPL did was, like, for the first time really, was get the best players playing with each other, not just against each other. Like, you would have played with, like you mentioned Rahul Dravid, but you would have played with some of the greatest of all time because of the IPL.
Unreal, isn't it? Yeah. I remember sitting and, Steve Smith, who was the best player in the world, was sitting on the bench because I was playing, and you just sort of try and get your head around that, and it's weird, and it must have been really weird for him as well. To think, well, I'm the best player in the world in a longer format. I should be playing here, and yet here I am sitting on the bench. And then you look next to Steve Smith, and you go, "There's Dale Steyn," and you go, "How come he's not playing?" And it's just this endless talent pool. But what it did do is it made you perform to the highest level. You probably knew you had about 3 to 4 matches to perform before the axe started to come down on you. Because why you just pick up a move and they pick David Miller or they pick Aaron Finch or Travis Head or whoever it is that's next to you that's ready to fire. So, that sort of elevated you to make sure you were 100% committed to your performance on that day to do well.
That was just a little teaser of our full episode. They're out Wednesdays on YouTube, and you can listen to them wherever you get your podcast. Go on, get out of here.